We're live. Thank you. Thank you for joining us for the 5th Virtual Visioning Workshop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th Virtual Visioning Workshop held by the Queen Anne's County's Comprehensive Plan group. That's not who's holding it. I don't know why I said that. It doesn't matter. We're live. Hey, Chris.
The group that's doing.
Yeah, this is the group that's doing. I don't know what I'm saying.
Yes. Hello.
Hello. So thank you for joining us. You're not in the right place, which is good because we're clearly babbling and don't know what we're talking about. But you're in the place you need to be to get the information of where you need to go. Tonight, you want to join QAC Plan2021.com. And that's where you can get the information for the meeting about the comprehensive plan. That's where you can talk about all the things that you think are needed in Queen Anne's County. Maybe you want a speakeasy in Sudlersville, right, Chris?
Yes, I've been lobbying for that. I don't know why.
Yeah, lobby. Yeah.
For.
You know, Kent Island got a Target. Maybe Centerville wants a Walmart. Maybe Churchill wants a S-Mart. Maybe Y Mills wants any Mart.
Hey, shop smart, shop S-Mart.
Shop smart, shop S-Mart. Thank you, Chris. So head to QACplan2021.com. You'll see this website, and you're going to go to upcoming meetings. You're going to click on that link. You're going to click on the link to join their meeting right now. You can go right now. So I'm really glad you're here. But now it's time to go.
Yeah. Yep.
So, Chris.
Yes.
What do you think we're going to discuss tonight?
I don't know. You've got actually a pretty decent list because we were talking about it today in the planning and zoning meeting. But you got a pretty decent list about what they're talking about tonight. I think it's North County stuff, correct?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I was trying to look it up real quick.
Oh, that's fine.
We're tired. But yeah, it's countywide and North County.
Yeah.
So whatever you want to talk about it there. But it's a North County focus, which was the second time they've actually done in North County. But we also want to get you some information on things that are coming up. They have special topic workshops coming soon. On February 24th, they're going to be talking about the environment and transportation. On March 4th, they're going to be talking about historic and cultural resources. On March 17th, it's going to be housing in Queen Anne's County. On April 1st, there will be economic development and tourism town planning. On April 29th, it'll be about the Kent Narrows Community Plan. On May 5th, it'll be all community plans. And on June 3rd, it'll be about land use and priority preservation. So even though today is the last virtual visioning workshop, it's the 5th one, it's the last one, but from here on out, they're going to be doing very targeted meetings. So go to QACplan2021.com. You'll see the information for those meetings in the future, and you'll see the information for tonight's meeting, which you should be joining now.
Yeah, and it's Cisco WebEx. To let you know that's the one that's handling it. So if you click on that link and it goes to Cisco WebEx and you're used to things like Zoom and Microsoft Teams, don't be scared. That's the service that they're using. So just click in and join the meeting.
That's right. And it starts at 5:30, so you have a couple seconds still to get over there. Make sure you have your mic. Make sure you have your camera turned on so you can talk to them and tell them about all the things you want.
Now, I do know that they will have their microphones muted just so they can avoid background noise, so the person that's actually talking can be highlighted. But they will, you will be able to turn your microphone on when your turn to speak. So don't be scared if your microphone's turned off. It's just to keep the meeting running smoothly.
Yeah, don't be scared. Don't be scared.
Don't be scared about anything.
Don't be scared about anything.
Except for
so bring your great ideas. Queen Anne's County needs you now. We're going to sign off here in a second to send you over to the meeting. We'll be broadcasting the whole meeting as we go along right now on Facebook and on YouTube. But again, don't stick around with us. We love you. Just tonight, we need you to love that QAC Plan 2021 website's comprehensive plan meeting a little bit more. So thank you for joining us. We're going to kick it over to the room. Chris, thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you, as always, Bruce.
And it's been a long day for us, so we're gonna go home and take a nap while we listen to the sweet, sweet nothings of the Comp Plan 2021.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you to all those of you who have already signed in. It looks like we are having a few people still get through that initial sign-in process. So if you just give them a few more moments to get them into this main chat room, and then we will go ahead and get started very shortly. In the interim, if you're not familiar with the WebEx platform, just take a few moments to find some of those different features like the little hands up function or the chat box. Those are two of the tools that we'll be using tonight. And right now we have the participants muted just to limit some of those background noises. But as we get further into the workshop, we will be opening it up for more discussion and unmuting people to provide comments. All right, well, we will go ahead and get started. Good evening and welcome to our last in the series of visioning workshops for the 2021 Comprehensive Plan workshops for Queen Anne's County. My name is Lauren Good and I am the project manager for Wallace Montgomery. We are the consulting firm that has been working with the county over the last few months on this process. Before we move off of the slide that you see before you right now, we just wanted to make sure to point out a few of the features of this WebEx platform to those of you that are participating using that virtual interface. Really, the features that we're going to be using are the chat box as well as the muting and unmuting so that we can share verbal comments. So a little bit later on, or at any point, if you have a comment or a question, you can just use that little hands up function, which is either if you hover over your name, there should be a little hand that pops up, or toward the bottom, there should be a little smiley face icon. If you click on that, the hand will be a feature there as well. So that will just let us know that you want to share a comment with us. So again, welcome to tonight's workshop. We're very excited that you have joined us here tonight. A lot of us have had to brave that snowy, wintry weather today, so I'm glad that that we could all get together for this last workshop. This is the 5th one that we've held in the series, and have been having some really good comments coming in and discussions. So we're very glad that we can be here with you again tonight. So to get things started, we are going to just have some brief welcome and introductions, move on to have a little bit of an overview of the overall planning process, and then move into some of those visioning discussions, talk about the planning process's next steps, and then have a Q&A session. So again, my name is Lauren, and I am joined tonight by two of my colleagues here at Wallace Montgomery, Ray Moravec and Nikki Davis. They're going to be helping us out with the meeting facilitation. So thank you for participating this evening. We also have with us Amy Murdoch, who is the Director of the county's Planning and Zoning Department. And we do have several other staff members joining us this evening. Amy, I just wanted to turn it over to you if you had any brief welcome or introductions that you wanted to share.
Sure, thank you, Lauren. And thank you to Ray and Nikki. And I also see Elizabeth Watson is on the line, and they've all been a great support in this process. And thanks to Stephanie, who's also been managing things from the county planning end. But most of all, I want to thank all of you who are participating tonight, and some of you I see who have found the time to give us throughout this visioning workshop process. And some of you have participated in several sessions. And that's something that is an unexpected benefit to these virtual visioning sessions, is it has really opened the possibilities for a lot more participation and lots of different types of participation in terms of giving verbal comments and chat comments and also follow-up comments. And that has all been happening, and it's all been just really good, positive input. And I want to thank you for that. And in advance for your continued buy-in to this project and your time and dedication to it. This process is an exciting one. It is a process that is mandated through the land use article, and it's the job of the Planning Commission to draft this comprehensive plan and to maintain the plan. And it's ultimately the commissioner's job to be held to this product in good faith that we have worked hard to represent all of the visions and desires of the community. So even though it's a document that is regulatory in nature and comes from the Planning Commission and from the county commissioners, it really is the community's vision and the community's comprehensive plan. So I want to thank you again, and I look forward to your comments this evening and moving forward.
Great, thanks so much, Amy. Really appreciate those comments, and I echo that. Just seeing the number of people come out and those that are participating multiple times, and I'm sure we'll see some of you again moving forward in this process. So that's great to see. I did want to just let everyone know that we are recording tonight's workshop. So later on, we will be able to post a copy of the recording to our project website, and that will include both the video component as well as the verbal and chat features. So to get things really started off and to make sure that everyone's familiar with the different features, we are going to open up our first poll question. So that should be available for you to start providing some of those responses. So this first question is just asking, where do you live in the county? Is it one of the incorporated towns? Is it one of the community areas? Is it within the county but not within one of those areas? Do you can just commute to the county for work, or do you both live and work outside of the county but have a very strong interest in its how it moves forward? So we really use this question to just get a better understanding of who is joining us this evening, as well as to sort of compare that throughout the number of different workshops that we are holding to see just where some of that interest is coming from. So this question is just wrapping up here. So thank you for those of you that have responded, and I will be sharing those results with you right now. So you should be my apologies, had a unexpected screen share there. You should be seeing the results of that poll, and if not, the responses that we did receive are that we have a number of people from the town of Centerville, a handful from Chester, Church Hill, Millington, Queenstown, and then several who live within the county but not within one of those named jurisdictions. And then some additional people joining us this evening who both live and work outside of the county, but are very interested in this process. So we are thankful that all of you can attend and participate in these activities this evening. And now we will be moving on to our second poll question, which is just asking, how long have you lived or worked within the county? So in some of our past workshops, we've had large portions of people who've either lived or worked here for over 10 years. So they may have experienced the update process from the last comprehensive plan update to those who have only recently come to live within the county. And it's great hearing the different perspectives from those different groups of people. So again, just using this poll question to provide a little bit more information to us about who all is joining us for these discussions tonight. Looks like we have received those responses. So I will go ahead and share those responses with everyone. So it looks like we over close to 60% of you have either lived or worked in the county for over 10 years. So that's great to have that that depth of experience with the county. And again, a few that have been here in those intervening periods, and a couple that that are really newcomers to the county. So it's definitely great to have everyone in attendance tonight, and we look forward to hearing all of those different perspectives moving forward. So with that, we want to just give a brief overview of the planning process and really provide a baseline of what is a comprehensive plan and why we do it, why we're updating it now. So comprehensive plan is a document that really provides a blueprint for the future. It has a 20-year horizon. So it looks at where the county wants to be in 2040, and that's a little scary to think about that year's coming up in the not too distant future. The comprehensive plan helps to establish a community vision for the county's growth and preservation over that 20-year period. And it serves as a guide for decisions on land use and preservation, transportation, housing, development, and the environment. It also helps to coordinate the various planning efforts that are going on either now or in the future. So not just planning efforts that are being undertaken by the county, for example, both this comprehensive plan process and the update to the county's land preservation, parks, and recreation plan are going on at the same time, but also coordinating with planning efforts of the incorporated jurisdictions within the county, as well as some of the neighboring counties that are out there. So seeing how we can help one another out and making sure that the information within those plans is they really highlight one another and work together for the best possible future. As Amy mentioned in her welcoming remarks, the comprehensive plan fulfills a requirement from the state of Maryland. So this is something that not only Queen Anne's County and its various towns undertake, but also all of the rest of the counties and municipalities throughout the state of Maryland. And a comprehensive plan is not in itself a regulation, an ordinance, or zoning, and it does not automatically create those new regulations, make any changes to zoning, or alter the development rights that might be allowed on those on particular pieces of property. However, the plan does help to inform those decisions, which are made by various commissions and ultimately the county commissioners. So it really serves to help provide information and insight in those decision-making processes. All of the comprehensive plans have similar components. It's just a matter of the specific way that each community chooses to develop them. But those main components are to look at the existing conditions, so what is really out on the ground right now, as well as where we've come from in the past. They also provide a number of goals and recommendations to help support these various efforts and provide a guide to future development over the planning horizon. While the plan itself may look out 20 years to see where the community wants to be in that 2040 timeframe, there is a more specific action plan that has a 10-year window providing those implementation items for how the county and its partners may want to address those actions to help meet its various goals and visions that are developed as part of this process. Excuse me. And the comprehensive planning processes are really built around public input. So it's wonderful that you're all, again, able to join us this evening, because your input helps not only us, but staff and the Planning Commission, helps to prioritize the different needs and opportunities that are out there in the county. It also helps to establish community visions for growth, preservation, and some of the other topic items that that are discussed in the plan. And then the input helps to identify where the desired development patterns are and what are they throughout the county. As mentioned, these efforts are required by the state of Maryland, and they are required to be updated every 10 years. In those middle 5 years, there is a review of the planning documents to see what's really changed and where things are anticipated to go, and really to get the communities to start thinking about what might be needed and how they may want to update those plans in the future few years. This planning effort is looking at a number of past comprehensive plans. So not only the countywide comprehensive plan that was last adopted in 2010, but 3 specific community plans developed between 2006 and 2010, including those for Kent Narrows, Chester-Stevensville, and Graysonville. Those were separate standalone documents, and as part of this process, we are analyzing and considering how they might be combined into one to make it a little bit more user-friendly. So that's one of the items that we will be evaluating moving forward. We are also considering and incorporating information from a number of different planning efforts, including the comprehensive planning efforts from the municipalities within the county's housing study, that LPPRP I mentioned just a moment ago, and then plans for water and sewer, transportation, and a number of other plans and data sources, not just at the county or municipal levels, but also incorporating that from the state, or in some cases, the federal government or partnering agencies. And again, we use this process to, we start by determining where are we, what are conditions today, and how did we get here, and then thinking about where are we going. So if those trends hold true, where will we end up in the future? But really, where do we want to go? So are those trends leading us in the right direction, or do we need to make some adjustments to really get to that final destination? But then how do we do that? What steps do we need to take to achieve those different goals and objectives that are developed as part of this process? So all comprehensive plans have to have a number of items that are required under the state code. So the items that you can see on the screen in the bolded green are required elements. And then we have just, we are revising the layout of the plan to try to fit some of those topics together a little bit better and more easily provide information to the number of users of the comprehensive plan. So this update will include information on community facilities and services, land use, environmental resources and protection, transportation, historic and cultural resources, economic development and tourism, housing, and then look at the planning framework between the county and those municipalities within its borders, as well as the community plans for those 3 areas that I mentioned just a moment ago. Those all get buttoned up with a number of implementation items that again are short, medium, and long-term actions that can be taken in this next 10-year period. And as I alluded to earlier, we've been working with the county since summer of last year, and we are moving through this project, not only doing some data collection efforts, which is where we have focused a lot of the planning efforts to this point, but now moving into more of this public outreach portion where we are having a number of workshops, visioning sessions, and discussions on a number of different topics. And we use that information to help inform the plan's development. So when we sit down to write new drafts or develop new maps, we incorporate all of that. And then later this summer, the process will move into more of the official public comment period, and then into public hearings and adoption. And we anticipate that all of that will be wrapped up by the end of this year. And as I mentioned just a moment ago, public outreach really is so important to these planning efforts. And there are a number of different opportunities to provide that outreach. So between meetings and workshops with the Planning Commission and county commissioners, to participating in these visioning workshops, as well as special topic workshops that dive a little deeper into those different areas of the plan, like housing or transportation. We also had a community survey that was done a few months ago, and we received a lot of great feedback from that survey. And then following up on that, we have a number of what we're calling questions of the week. So 1 to 2 survey questions that we are posting to our project website to just get a little bit more information on some items of interest. And then in general, just public comments. So the comments that you are making during tonight's meeting, sending in comments or questions through the website or via email, or when we get into the official comment period, any of those comments that are made, we are keeping a log of all of that comes in and are reviewing and incorporating and addressing them as we move throughout this process. And then all of that comes together to really result in the final 2021 comprehensive plan for the county. Again, that's a document that has the 20-year vision, outlining a number of goals and strategies to serve as a guide for future development and outline the implementation program over the next 10 years. So we are now going to transition more into our discussions about visioning, which is, of course, why you're all joining us this evening. So just a few ground rules before we get into those discussions. We just want to make sure that when we are providing comments or asking questions, that we do so in a way that respects the views of others. That we are listening quietly when others are speaking so that we can really hear and listen to those comments that they are trying to make. Keeping comments somewhat brief so that anyone who is interested in participating gets a chance to do so. So to that end, if you really like a comment that someone else has made, we ask that you either type something into the chat box that just says, yes, I totally agree with that statement, or you can give the statements a little thumbs up using that smiley face icon, just as a way to keep the conversation flowing and moving on. At any time this night, tonight, you can enter comments in the chat box. We will be reviewing those and reporting back on the comments that come into us. And then, as I mentioned at the start of the meeting, right now everyone is muted just to make sure that we're not hearing dishes jangling in the background or any of those conversations, so that we can really focus on the different comments, questions, and discussions that we are having moving forward. So at any point, if you want to share your thoughts with the rest of us that are participating this evening, you can just use that little raised hand icon, and that will indicate to us that you want to share those comments, and we will unmute you so that you can share. And before we do get into those discussions, we have one more poll question. So this is a chance to just share with us in a few words, what do you think Queen Anne's County will be known for in the future? So really what we're looking for here is just 1 to 2 words that really gets to the heart of what Queen Anne's County is and how others will know it in the decades to come. We have a number of people that are working on those comments. It's great to see those flowing in. I've got another 10 seconds or so, and then the poll is going to close out. So those of you who are still working, if you can start wrapping those up and submitting those responses to us. If you did not get a chance to submit those through the poll question. Please feel free to add them to the chat box, and we will make sure to report those responses back to the rest of the group. I am now just copying and pasting those responses into the chat box. We've had some, it seems like those questions don't always want to share the responses in the poll area. So some of those responses that we heard back are that it's rural, there's agriculture, preservationists, pristine living, it's a community. Hope it will always be known for its rural character. Productive farmland, open space and agricultural heritage, a couple of resiliencies, outdoor recreation, and it's a nice place to live and work. So those are some great initial comments there. If you have any other thoughts on those, please keep those coming in. And then really, what is a vision statement? So when we say we're having these visioning exercises, what does that really mean? So these statements really communicate what the county wants to be like in the next 20 years. It provides a big picture overview and guidance for the entire comprehensive plan. And it can be as short as those few words that you just typed into the box, or it can be a number of sentences strung together into a paragraph. So it's just really that statement that really provides information to everyone on where we want to see ourselves in the next 20 years. So at this point, I'm going to open it up to more of the group. So if you have any comments or questions and want to share those with us, we again ask that you start putting those hands up, and we can call on you to provide those comments to us directly. But the first topic area that we want to look at is when you think of North County, what are its really its key opportunities and what are its greatest challenges? So for those of you who have either been here for a longer period of time, or those of you who have just moved into the county, what are your first thoughts on this? What are the great things about North County, or some areas where you think it could use a little bit of help? And I know it's always hard to be the first person to share with the group, but you know that's what we're here for tonight. We really want to hear those comments and have that interaction. But we've got a comment coming in from Annie Richards, so you should be able to unmute and share your comments with us.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So obviously something that is so predominant throughout Queen Anne's County, especially in the North County, is we have so much ag land at our disposal. And I think one of our greatest opportunities is to invest in agriculture diversity, and also the right types of agriculture that promote the healthiest soils. So being a resource for farmers to achieve best management practices, but not only that, to make connections for them to visionary work that's being done to bring new best management practices to the table. And then one of the North County's greatest challenges is development, and that I think that the North County should focus on allowing development to come from within the county rather than from outside interests, so that it can be generated in a way that works for the community, that works for the landscape, and above all, that works for the water quality of the Chester River and the other tributaries that originate from here.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing those comments and really getting the conversation started. Let's see, got a request from Jay to open up that line, so you should be able to go ahead and share your comments with us.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. I agree with what Annie just said. One of the great things about Queen Anne's County is the fact that it is so rural. And that's where the real future value of Queen Anne's County is with its farms, its forests, its small towns. It would not be hard to develop it into things that we dislike. And so I hope that we can keep it that way. And the real challenges that I think we have, the pressure to develop is always pressing at our borders. It's come about with recent proposals that are just completely incompatible with the area. And I hope as we move forward, to the extent there is any development, it's really consistent with what the area is already, rather than trying to turn this area into something that really is not. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We've got another raised hand here, so I will go ahead and unmute that line for Ben if you want to share your thoughts with us.
Hi, thanks. I don't know if you can hear me, but I agree with Annie and with Jay, and I own a family farm in the Upper Chester, and I'm excited about the future of agriculture in this area. I think that there's a lot of opportunities, and not just straight agriculture, but also tourism. I think preserving our agricultural identity will help with our with tourism. And small businesses, and I'm concerned about the challenge to control sprawl and unchecked development.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing those comments with us. We've had a number of comments come in through the chat box, so that's great. Keep those coming. Again, a lot of comments here agreeing that agriculture is definitely an opportunity, and seconding some of the comments that have been made, including really definitely supporting those best practices and innovation in agriculture. So that's great. Another opportunity is to really become a model in the Bay region by integrating green jobs and land use with leading resource protection practices. So that's great. Let's see here. We've got a raised hand from Cheryl, so I will go ahead and unmute your line if you want to share your comments with us.
Good evening. I look at this slide and so many things come to mind, but one of my concerns, and one that I think can be a good opportunity for the county, is that which deals with the roadside garbage and, to a smaller extent, poor property, and here I mean commercial building maintenance. I so enjoy driving down the rural roads around Centerville, where I live outside the town limits. And I get very discouraged by the amount of roadside garbage that I see along the way every day almost when I go to the parks or to the stores or to the businesses in town, or to take walks on the trails. And because of that concern, I've been volunteering, as many people do, to help clean up the roadside. Yet I'm not sure that we're setting as good an example as we can for residents, for those who come to our town to drive our rural roads, to enjoy their time here, if there is such a display of garbage off the exit ramps. Perhaps if you go to Kent Narrows, or to even the ramp off of 301/50 onto 213, there is, I guess, a tendency as one slows down around a ramp, they like to get rid of all of their cans and their debris, and that concerns me a lot. But And I see it as a challenge that to some small extent, the county, the towns, the citizens do try to address. But I was looking at the slide that you had earlier about the plans being updated and talking about municipal plans and additional chapters as we look to build the plan QAC 2021 plan. Where within those plans do we have the opportunity to talk about keeping the roadsides as clean as we possibly can so they look and grow as healthy as they can?
That's definitely a great question, and well, as you just mentioned, there really are a number of places where we can look to incorporate that, whether it is in the a transportation section and talking more broadly about sort of the general streetscape or the feel of different transportation routes, or including it as part of a discussion on the environment and pollution and how those, even though that litter may be occurring inland, how it may eventually make its way, unfortunately, out to the bay. So there's really so many interconnected systems and ways to incorporate some of those types of topic areas. So that's definitely a great question and great comments that we will look to address in the plan.
I think that would be a good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
We've had a number of additional comments come in. And one is that the citizens have really made it clear that we want to preserve what we have now, the rural small towns and that feeling. And how do we do that while having some of those other developer and business interests? How can they work together? Agreements with some of the previous speakers about not only the emphasis on agriculture, but also looking about how we can grow within the borders and highlight those different opportunities, not necessarily having that development pressure coming in from the outside. Another challenge is the development that is occurring along Route 301 and the general need for broadband and those connectivity issues for not only broadband, but cell service and some of those other communication tools that I think we can all appreciate how much a part of our lives they're becoming, especially how we've been using them in the past several months in particular. Let's see. Some additional challenges are the additional large developments that are profiting on a small number of residents that have been approved without enough attention being paid to long-term costs. So how are those being considered when development is coming to the county? Seconding thoughts on agriculture, agritourism, natural resources, the small town potential, small businesses, and everything that goes with those. And then some challenges are really, is there the right range of housing opportunities, services, and jobs? Having economic, natural resources that can be an economic driver. So great questions or comments here. And we've got another raised hand, so I will go ahead and unmute that line for Howard Dean. So if you want to go ahead and share your comments with us. It's like we might be having a little bit of technical difficulty on that line. Let me.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Yep, we can hear you. Great.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Of course, you know, my name is Howard Dean. I'm a lifelong resident of Queen Anne's County. I've been a farmer all my life. First, Queen Anne's County is the largest grain producing county in the state of Maryland, and agriculture is the #1 business sector in the county. We should not lose that important agriculture distinction due to non-agriculture development. Instead, we should build off our solid agriculture foundations. And that means we should do everything we can to keep our rural areas as rural as productive as they can be. And that means we should support every agriculture preservation program there is. Secondly, the 301 corridor should be designated in the plan as a county scenic agriculture byway, protected from commercial and residential development. With its vast open spaces and forest lands, that stretch of highway is unique in the entire state and should be protected. Finally, I have signatures of over 50 other Queen Anne's County farmers, farm owners, and those connected with agriculture. They have signed this statement and they support keeping Queen Anne's County as it is, keeping our rural areas, rural. I'd like to submit this for record, please. That's all my statement.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it trailed off there a little bit. We definitely appreciate those comments and any written comments or items like that that anybody would want to share with us in this process moving forward. Those are certainly items that that we want to see and incorporate and address. So I believe that I did see a draft of that document. The planning and zoning staff shared that with me. So and we can either, if you wanted to share that signed document with the county, and we can make sure that that gets entered as part of our logged comments moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Some of the other comments that have been coming in are that land allows space for increased development, and we want to make sure that we have inclusive communities that come with housing and business opportunities. Let's see. So often in rural communities, there aren't enough paid town or county resources to go around, and that we can really perhaps look to those willing to volunteer to help maintain or establish programs that help to beautify and improve life in the county. It's a great suggestion there. Have a raised hand from Caroline, so I will go ahead and unmute that line if you want to share your comments with us. Caroline, are you getting a little, I believe there should be a little pop-up box that just says to unmute. It looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulty, so we'll keep working on that one and come back to you in just a minute there. Let's see. Some additional opportunities are that 50 years from now, we could be just as indispensable to food production on the East Coast as the Imperial Valley in California is on the West Coast. And that would be a great future for our farmland. So
Lauren, it looks like, Caroline's unmuted if you want to try that again.
Definitely. Caroline, please share your comments with us.
Yes, I was saying that we're hearing from the citizens tonight who are pretty solid and keeping it rural. That been pretty much following the earlier comp plans. I worked on, and I know that there are powerful business and developer interests who agree with us, but they aren't here so far. And I'm wondering how do they influence and what they know? How do we know what they're recommending until we wait for the plan up and there they are? How do we see a balanced input for the plan?
Apologies that your comments cut out a little bit here or there, but I think that I got the overall gist of the comments that you were making. That we have heard a lot about the desire to keep that agricultural rural heritage, and how can we balance that with some of those outside developer interests, or what might those other interests be proposing or want to see addressed in the plan itself? Is that sort of the gist of your comments?
I say we balance them. I want to know what they input, how we can see right now what we're recommending. We do not know what Delaware developers inside Queen Anne developers what and how, I want to know how they input and how we can see that or suddenly the entire plan shows up and developers. We see areas we see what I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. We're definitely not having the greatest connection. So I think that we again missed a part of those comments.
So what to do? And this are
Yeah, apparently the microphone is going out for Caroline.
I need broadband too.
Yeah. And please make sure so that we do capture, if you could also put in the chat, that would help us as well for what we might be missing as well with the microphone cutting out.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry about that that little hiccup there. If you are able to enter those into the chat box, we'll definitely come back and share those with everyone, and try to address those. Some of the other comments that we've heard are to include in the plan a recommendation to encourage sheriffs and state police to actually enforce fines for littering. Let's see. Rural areas with small towns and small businesses are the desired future for the North County area. Let's see. There's some growth opportunities in proximity to growth areas to the north in Delaware, and that housing would be needed to support that growth, and that on the non-residential side, agribusiness and technology-based businesses should really be the focus moving forward.
Lauren, I'm going to jump in. Caroline was able to put in the comment there. I don't know if you saw it, but her one question that she was trying to ask was, I want to know how business and developers are input beyond the public views. I think her comment when it was getting cut off was, we're getting a lot of good comment from citizens on what they're seeing for the vision, but the developers come in from the outside or other areas. How do we get their input so that that is being considered as well and balanced with what we're hearing here? Hope I'm capturing that correctly, Caroline.
Thanks, Ray. And we are opening up these processes to a number of different organizations and looking at a number of different topic areas. So we do hope that any of those developers or other interests that may be thinking about doing something within the county, that they can share with us some of those initial thoughts, and we can see how those may or may not align with how citizens and the staff and the elected and appointed officials want to see the county, how they want to see the county move over the next few years. And then depending on the how those final visions and goals get developed, it then becomes a matter of do those future interests, how do they align with those established visions and goals, and can they be incorporated into them, or can they fit within that framework? So that's something that that we will definitely be looking at as we move forward throughout this process. Let's see. Had lots of agreements with some of the previous comments that were made. Let's see. Let's see. Another comment that there should consider designating 301 as a scenic byway, and that change is probably going to come whether we want it to or not, and that the most important thing that we can do is direct that change the best way that we can, instead of letting it just occur and go wild. Some additional comments that there are many historic and cultural resource opportunities that exist in North County, particularly within the towns and villages, and that revitalization could go hand in hand with both agritourism, and other small business opportunities. There's a question about what kind of financial support is there for businesses that are looking to provide broadband services in the rural areas of the county in particular. So I know there was a working group that was formed to look at some of those different areas. So we're also going to be looking to see how we can incorporate that information into this planning effort. See, just looking through the rest of these comments, and it looks like there are again questions about transparency and how those other interests are being either submitted or incorporated, and making sure that they are those thoughts are all out in the open. And then again, really echoing the need for broadband and those communications tools. So that is very much noted, and thank you for all of those comments. So to keep things moving along, we'll go ahead to our next discussion item. And again, if you have thoughts on anything that we've discussed previously, please keep raising your hands or putting those messages into that chat box. And we'll keep coming back and checking into them. So one of the things that we want to think about is a vision for North County. So the countywide plan and the three specific planning areas all have visions that have been developed as part of those planning efforts that took place over 10 years ago. But there has not been that specific statement developed for North County. So when you imagine North County in the future, what do you want to see? Is it, again, that there's that focus on the rural community and agriculture, and keeping that quality of life and focusing on the small town businesses and other opportunities? Are there other topics that should be considered as far as different community facilities and services, parks, recreation, and open space, the different environmental resources, transportation efforts, economic development and tourism, or housing? So what are your thoughts on really that vision for North County's future? And Mike, we did see that you put a comment in here about providing broadband in rural areas. So I think that's probably a conversation or topic that would be better addressed offline, so we can follow up with you on that. If you want to make sure that we have the best contact information for you, we can do that after the meeting. And then a comment that regarding the vision, that really that agricultural preservation is really the key to how we want to see the this area of the county move forward in the future. And encouraging local small businesses, both those that are existing as well as those that could exist in the future. And provided limited development or redevelopment of the existing rural towns and crossroads that might provide some higher density housing or a greater variety of housing opportunities. Providing walkable communities and small businesses and services while still being able to preserve the farms and natural resources found in these areas. And we have another comment from Annie Richards. So you should be able to go ahead and share your comments with us.
Hi again, thanks. So I'm agreeing with a lot of the comments we're seeing about walkable communities and expanding our development from within municipalities that are currently in existence, but also Queen Anne's County has an amazing opportunity as we're revisioning this comprehensive plan at the same time that the Biden administration is putting climate change preparation and resiliency to rural communities at the top of their priority. So looking at our entire development plan from the lens of resiliency to protect our investments for the future and to really be visionaries for green development in places where it makes sense. And then to really focus on our rural lands of preservation, but going a step beyond preserving and properly managing those lands once they're protected so that the soil health is the best it can possibly be, because we all know that when the soil health is the best it can possibly be, so is the water quality, and that contributes enormously to environmental rights and human health as we all access these beautiful areas that we all are lucky enough to call home. And as also, I'd like to see more emphasis on creating access to public waterways that is equitable for everyone in the county.
Great, thank you so much. Those are definitely great comments and ones that we will address and consider in many of the different areas of the plan. We have another raised hand from Ben, so I will go ahead and unmute that line, so you should be able to share your comments with us.
Hi, thanks, Lauren. I agree with Annie's comments, and I think land preservation is a key component to our future here. But in addition to that, it would be really beneficial, I think, to our economy if we had more access to land for hiking, biking. If we even had several hundred acres or something that was public, where people could come and that would be a nice tie-in with agritourism and our small businesses and our small towns. Thank you.
Great comment. Thank you so much. Some additional comments that have come in. Amy, thank you for sharing that link to the Broadband Advisory Council. Much appreciated. And again, let's see, echoing agricultural preservation, but also noting that we'll still need housing that will be there for the next generation. So maybe that means that the small towns should start thinking about expanding. Got another raised hand from Jay, so I will go ahead and let's see, unmute that line, so you should be able to share your comments with us.
Thank you very much. There was a soil scientist, and I can't remember her name, but she was from USDA, and she lives in Queen Anne's County, I think. And a number of years ago, she testified that some of the soils in Queen Anne's County are among the most productive on the whole entire Atlantic coast, and really only second to some of the productive soils that you find in Midwestern states like Iowa. And because of that, I just want to underscore the importance of ag preservation in that those agricultural areas should really be safeguarded as the valuable resource that they are for the future. And I hope that that's reflected. I also wanted to address just one thing that I heard somebody else say regarding more housing in the rural areas. I think I just want to make everybody aware that typically the fragmented development that's in rural areas outside of towns is some of the most costly in terms of taxes. And ultimately, that type of development, which impacts schools and roads and so on, ends up resulting in tax increases for everyone. And so I just hope we're mindful that the best type of land use, if we're going to develop in the towns or have housing, more housing, is to really direct those to the towns where there's infrastructure to support it, and not put development out in the rural areas. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those comments. Some additional ones that have come in to us through the chat box include parks, recreation, and open space. Those are important to having a healthy county. And a question or concern about whether the parks and public landings are inadequate to handle those needs, especially when they're open to anyone. We want to preserve the character of the town communities, but still allow for the possibility of growth for housing and business. And that key to that is traffic design and learning from sprawl that has occurred in some of the neighboring jurisdictions, like on the other side of the Delaware border in Middletown, where that happened without a plan in place ahead of time. So could potentially include thoughts about a bypass around Sudlersville, for example, or other towns where downtown walkability and character could be maintained. Some additional comments about Conquest as an asset, but that how the distance that there might be between that and where some county residents may live, and that there is the potential for more of those types of facilities. And a comment about it may be necessary to devote a percentage of farmland to solar power, and that might be our contribution to help with addressing climate change, and that could be part of a land preservation plan, because that solar could revert to productive farmland after a lease for those solar structures. So something to consider moving forward. Just scanning through some of these additional comments, and it looks like they're all related to some of the previous comments that we've had. So just to keep things moving along, these have been really great discussions, and we want to keep those moving forward. So just a little bit of a shift here. The discussions so far have had a focus on North County, but when you think about Queen Anne's County as a whole, what do you think are its key opportunities as well as its greatest challenges? Are those the same as the ones that we just discussed, or are there different ones when you think about perhaps areas on the southern end of the county? And Amy's provided the citations for the utility scale solar array district information. So thank you for that additional information. So what are the thoughts about the county's different opportunities and challenges? We have a hand up from Jenna Scott, so I'll go ahead and unmute that line if you want to share your comments with us.
Thanks. I think this is both a challenge and an opportunity. But right now I'm thinking of it in terms of a challenge to both keep money within the county and to bring money in. So right now, if you live in Queen Anne's County, you probably have to go to a different county to get certain day-to-day stuff, or maybe more specialty items, which means you're spending money outside the county. And then we have all of these people driving through on their way to the beach or on their way to work in near DC. And most of that money isn't staying in the county either. So basically, we're just bleeding money. So I think it's really important to support development that will keep money within the county for like economic sake, but also to make sure people still want to live here. I hate driving 30 minutes to Target every time I need a notebook. It's the worst. I'm very excited about the new Target because it means I don't have to drive 30 minutes to go get a notebook. So I think I don't want more Targets, but I think thinking along those lines of what do people like need to live here, and then encouraging development along those lines.
Thanks, Jenna. Those are great comments that even when you think about the different types of development that's out there, that could be out there, there might be an appropriate place for the Targets of the world, but then also an important place for the local mom and pop shops as well. So where is that balance, and what do what are residents and others really looking for, and what do they want, and what can the area support? So those are some great comments, great thoughts. If you have any additional thoughts about opportunities or challenges for the county as a whole, please keep those comments coming in. This might be a little difficult to read on the screen, but the county as a whole has a vision statement that was developed as part of its last comprehensive planning effort. And similar to the discussion we had just a few moments ago, is this vision statement, is this something that that still seems accurate? Are there pieces of it that we may want to change or prioritize different features? Or is there something that is missing from this current vision? And that's really that the overall community vision is for the county to remain a quintessentially rural community and preserve its overall character as a great place to live. Again, predominantly rural, with small towns connected by creeks and county roads through fields and forests. It's a good place to work, encouraging agriculture, seafood and maritime industries, tourism and outdoor sports, small businesses, and high-tech enterprise. It's a good neighbor for the Chesapeake Bay and other Eastern Shore counties, being a faithful steward of natural and cultural heritage. It's a community that protects the expectations and opportunities of all of its citizens, where development does not impair the quality of life that is enjoyed by all. And it's a county that supports the highest quality of education that seeks to fully prepare its citizens for the future. So we have one hand raised here from Marie. So I'll go ahead and unmute that line if you want to share your thoughts on that vision statement.
Thank you so much. So can you hear me okay?
We sure can.
Awesome. Broadband's good here. So I appreciate the chance to speak. So my husband and I were actually involved with a comprehensive plan years ago. And we live in Queenstown. We live in a neighborhood called Hickory Ridge. And part of our, at that time, the Wheatlands property, which is right now, there's discussion about planning, it was zoned as I think it was like country residential. It was almost like one house on every 5 acres. And I remember when we were designing the plan, a lot of folks like today talking about preserving agriculture, preserving our rivers. We were all in agreement, yet somehow the county plan changed. And I'm not sure. So my first question is, number one, how do we prevent all the work that's going into this today from changing? And then two, the other piece that happened was the town of Queenstown actually annexed the property, and that gave them more control over the property. The thing I struggle with is there's actually 2 highways between where the Wheatlands farm is and then Route 50 and then 301, right? So when we talk about, smart development, smart growth, if you think about this, they're building cottages on this Wheatland property. If somebody wants to go and grab a slice of pizza at the Queenstown Pizzeria, they actually have to go out, make a right on 50, cross over 301 in order to get to Queenstown. So I question, again, when we're making the comprehensive plans, how do we make sure that we're not just doing what's right by the developer, right, but we're doing what's right about the county? And in addition to my example of, it doesn't make sense because you've got a town that's separated by 2 highways, it also creates a danger for those of us in Hickory Ridge. There's not going to be an overpass. There's not going to be a road like a side road that's going to reach our neighborhood. It's going to stop at this new development, which means more traffic. And I'm not sure if anybody on this meeting has ever had to make a left out of the Hickory Ridge neighborhood, but it's pretty darn scary. And I've got 2 boys that are going to be driving in a couple years. So again, I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but it's like, how do we make sure, the big thing is we put this plan together, how do we enforce it? How do we make sure that towns can't acquire properties that really don't make sense to belong there? And then 3, how do we make sure that as we talk about the community and I look at these bullets, the safety of our residents, the safety of our river, and our, trying to protect the rural nature, how do we make sure that that's not overridden by towns' individual plans?
Thanks so much. Those are really great comments and questions. So I really appreciate that input. As part of this process, we will be coordinating with the towns and looking at those municipal growth areas and seeing where where the towns want to see those areas, as well as what, based on population changes or forecasts or projections into the future, what that might mean in terms of infrastructure and public facility needs, and is that appropriate? So we are going to be coordinating with the towns on that item. There are future sessions similar to this that do have a little bit more of that county town planning framework focus. So that's will be a great discussion point to revisit there, and to see how we can best address those and keep those thoughts really alive and in the process as we move forward. As you were providing those comments, we did have some additional comments coming in through the chat box, and really, let's see. How do we make those vision statements real? If we keep this the same, the statement the same, how do we make that actually happen in the next 10 to 20 years? How can we ensure that the development that we say we want now actually occurs, or can we direct it in those right directions? So those are all really great comments to hear, and that you know, there's this continued emphasis on certainly keeping portions rural, or making sure that all of the different impacts of development are really considered. So those are things that we will want to keep at the forefront of these and other planning efforts. We have had a lot of comments coming in, specifically addressing or adding comments to this discussion, and to be respectful of everyone's time. I don't want to you know, read all of those out verbatim, but do want to emphasize that we are putting together summaries of all of these meetings, and the comments will be available. So they're not just you know, going into a file here on my desk. Those will be put out so that everyone in the public can view them and see them, and so that we can incorporate them into this process moving forward. Since we are getting a little close to the end of the meeting here, just maybe you know, if anybody has one or two thoughts about what some big ideas might be for the planning process to consider, especially after thinking about the different opportunities and challenges and what those visions might be. Are there those big ideas out there, or maybe it's just not so much a big idea, but a couple of different small ideas that really help to help the county to move in that positive direction that we want to see it move in. So some comments that have come in are having a commitment to resiliency for communities and transparency for citizens. So it's a great comment. And again, going back to the comment about not seeing some of those comments until further on toward the end of the process. So again, we're going to try, especially with these meetings and the workshops that we have moving forward, to just keep rolling out the comments that we're receiving on that continuing basis. So we're not waiting to share those until the last minute, and hopefully as other groups, organizations, and citizens see those, they'll continue adding to that growing list of comments that we're receiving. Let's see. So comment about pledging county support for Delmarva Oasis. That's one of those topics that we were brought up at some of the earlier visioning sessions. So that's another one of those that keeps that keeps coming up. Another big idea is looking at pressures from the region outside of the county and the state, and trying to figure out how to best deal with those while maintaining the character and visions that we've been discussing so far tonight. And then here's one that's a little outside of the topic areas that we've been discussing so far, and that would be to perhaps see the Graysonville area over the next 10 years perhaps turn into an antique alley. So you know, is there something special or unique to a particular area that we want to that we really want to focus on and emphasize as we move forward? So if you have any other comments, about big or little ideas, just keep those coming our way. We do have a hand raised from Annie, so I will go ahead and unmute that line. So you should be able to share those comments with us.
Thank you. So some big ideas I'd like to see in the county would be a county-wide hike and bike trail that goes through a variety of ecosystems and types of land that we have in the county. More free public access points to the Chester River at various points along the river. A major overhaul of the municipalities within Queen Anne's County, their stormwater management practices, retrofitting historic towns with greener spaces and bioretention basins, and halting all further development on Kent Island.
But you definitely went for the big idea portion of that. So those are great comments coming in. Thanks so much for sharing those. And we have a raised hand for Mark. So I will go ahead and unmute that line. So if you want to share your comments with us.
Yeah, I would like to see something to help the farmers. I would actually like us to build a wholesale produce market. I would like our farmers not to have to truck their produce long distances. And I believe we have enough agriculture in here to support it. And I believe we could get federal or state grants that would help as well. And we have the available land. So I think it would be a great thing. If you want to preserve farmland, give them a chance to sell their produce directly to actual users. They'll make more money, and it's a good thing for the county. And you know what? It could be open to the public as well.
Great, thanks so much for the idea. Some additional comments coming in. I'll just go through these briefly. Acknowledging that growth will happen and realistically and holistically planning for it in a way that can serve as a benefit to the residents. See, we have some additional comments coming in that are echoing some of the ones that we've heard earlier on in the evening. So those are all great questions or comments coming in, and we do have one last hand raised from Jay. So I'll go ahead and unmute that line.
Yes, thank you. I heard earlier a comment made about establishing the Route 301 corridor as an agricultural scenic byway, I think is how it was described. And that would be a big idea that I think would gain a lot of traction throughout the whole entire county. That whole stretch of roadway going really all the way from the Delaware line down to Queenstown is truly unique, and every effort ought to be made to try and preserve it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's see. We've got another hand raised from Annie, and I just want to say, since we are sort of at the end of our allotted time here, we don't want to stop the conversation, but if you do have additional comments, you can keep those coming in the chat. I'll unmute the line for Annie, but then we'll go into the rest of the just the overview of next steps in this process. Please keep those comments coming in both throughout the remainder of this meeting as well as afterwards, and we'll make sure to share those comments through the project website. So Annie, I've unmuted that line, so you should be able to share with us now.
Thanks so much. So something that struck me that we haven't talked about yet tonight, that is a huge part of Queen Anne's County's future and was part of the vision statement, is education for the youth that is growing up here in the county. And in going with our desire to preserve land in Queen Anne's County and to preserve agriculture, so many students that are going to school at our public schools have grown up in agricultural families. and may not have the opportunities to take on land tenancies as they grow up. County lands and public education programs could be put in place to allow students to learn best practices for farming as a vocational outlet, learning state-of-the-art farming techniques, learning how to sell what they grow, learning how to diversify what they grow, and learning the cost benefits between renting versus owning land, which is a huge issue for young farmers trying to stay here in the county. So being able to foster the next generation of stewards for our county to continue to improve soil quality, to continue to improve water quality, and also to economically protect the biggest resource we have here is key. If these students are leaving and going to college and learning other things and then not coming back, then we are continually losing that culture and that knowledge and that thirst to continue to do a better job than the generation before.
Great, thank you so much for those comments. That's a good one that really ties together a number of different comments, and I think that might be a good one to sort of end this part of the discussion on. Again, if people continue to have those thoughts and comments coming to them, or you wake up in the middle of the night with this great idea about how we can help the county to reach its various goals and visions in the future, please again reach out to us, and we will incorporate those into these efforts, and make sure that those thoughts are shared. Amy just added a note in the chat room that there's actually an employment opportunity posting for the county as a career technology liaison. So that's good to hear, and that link is available if anybody wants to learn more about that opportunity. So briefly talking about the next steps in this process. Again, tonight is our last visioning workshop. We still have quite a few other workshops and meetings throughout the rest of the planning process. So this certainly is not the last chance that people will have to provide those comments. This is where we sort of wrap up those specific visioning exercises and start to try to formulate those and adjust the ones that were in the 2010 plan, and develop those for the 2021 plan moving forward. So in that vein, if you haven't already had a chance to check out our project website, there's a lot of great information there, including the past planning efforts, as well as some initial drafts of various chapters in the plan. That's where you'll be able to find the summaries and write-ups of these different workshops, as well as posts of the video recordings. You can also sign up for project updates on that website, so you'll get some regular communications about upcoming meetings or other input opportunities, and just overall status updates on the planning process and how that is moving forward. We again have those brief survey questions we're calling questions of the week. So those are changing every week, and focusing on 1, 2, or 3 questions on a particular topic area. So just helping to get a little bit more information on some of those questions where we might have those outstanding thoughts that we're still trying to formulate. Again, we do have a number of additional workshops and meetings scheduled, so we look forward to having you attend and participate in those. This has been a really great discussion. It's great to hear so many people participating, as well as including comments in those chat boxes. So we hope that that continues. Share with your friends and family or anyone that you think might be interested about these different opportunities. We're hoping to be able to reach out to as many people as possible and hear all of those different thoughts and comments as we move forward, as we move through the process. And really keep sending us any comments or questions that you might have. And there's a variety of different ways to do that. Which I will get to in just one moment. So this is just a snapshot of our current project schedule. And all of the colored dates on this and listed are the different meetings and workshops that we have planned. So there's still quite a few moving forward. So we hope to see you all again and have you participate once again in those sessions moving forward. This document is available on the project website and it's kept up to date. So if there are any changes, those are being incorporated. And then we are also sending out individual meeting announcements or information as we get closer to those specific dates. This is just a quick snapshot of the project website. We really want to see you get involved. So pretty much everywhere you turn, there is a link to the upcoming events and meetings that are occurring. Just making sure that you see those and have those opportunities. And then in the top right, there's a link to that contact or feedback form. That's where you can enter in any comments and those go right to us. We're keeping that ongoing list and are not only incorporating all of those into the evaluations that we're performing, but sharing those back out with county staff, planning commission, and the public as a whole. And since we have run over, this is just a great has been such a great discussion. So if there are any additional comments or questions, keep those coming in, and we will do our best to address them. My email address and contact information is shown here on the screen, as well as being able to get in touch through that contact form. So that we hope that you will take advantage of that and reach out to us, because we love to hear these different comments coming in. So there's been a number of sort of last thoughts coming into that chat box. Thanks to everyone for your enthusiastic and heartening input. I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. This has been a really great conversation and lots of great input coming in. And we hope that that continues. And let's see. We'll be updating the project website with a number of different elements, so you can look forward to those probably toward the start of next week. And those additional announcements will be coming out that really highlight those changes and the new information that's been included on the website. So with that, I just want to thank everyone so much for joining us tonight. We're all able to stay warm and didn't have to venture out in the snowy weather, but we again appreciate it so much. And I don't know if Amy or Stephanie, if you had any brief last minute thoughts before we close out the meeting.
No, I just want to echo your expressions of appreciation to everyone. This has been a vibrant conversation, I would say, and we've heard a lot of new ideas here. And I like that the ideas that we've collected tonight are not just Northern County specific, although that has been a great focus, but we've gotten some really great input about some other areas of the county. So, and some really bold ideas too. So I like that.
Definitely. Well, thanks so much. Thanks so much, Amy, Stephanie, and our planning team. Thank you. Thank you to all of the commissioners who are in attendance tonight, and other members of county staff, and thank you so much to the public. Again, we can't tell you how much we appreciate this input, it's really that input that we need and are using to form the basis of this update. So without these efforts, we couldn't do that. So thanks so much. Keep reaching out to us. And with that, I will just say that I hope everyone has a great night, a great weekend, that you either avoid any upcoming snow or take advantage of it, whichever is your preferences. Be safe out there, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.